Labor Party is gearing up to announce an emissions reduction target ahead of next year's election. That's according to the Herald Sun this morning. Joining me live now, here in the studio for a change, Deputy Leader of the Labor Party, Richard Marles. Richard, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Great
so can you
Pete.
confirm that 40% is your target for 2030?
Well, people will hear our plans in good time. What is clear is we are committed to meaningful action on climate change. People know that about the Labor Party. We've been committed to that for decades. And it was years ago now that we committed to zero net emissions by 2050. And we'll make clear our plans before the next election. The real question here is, where is the government at? Because they say they've committed to zero net emissions by 2050, but we really see no commitments. We see no plans. Their heart's not in it, and they're a party which is fundamentally divided.
But 40%, is that wrong?
You will see all of our positions.
Not a denial.
Well, you're just going to have to wait.
Right. Okay.
But people, we're not governing at the moment. When there is the prospect of us governing after the next election, people will be really clear what our plans are to get to zero net emissions by 2050. But you know that Labor is committed to meaningful action on climate change. That's what we've been about. No one have any idea where the government's at and what they actually want to do.
Well, the government is 26 to 28% of 2005 levels, but it's looking like it's going to be 35% by...
They kind of, is it 26, is it 35? But there are no real commitments from this government. What you see is a massive fight inside the government party room, particularly between the Nats and the Liberals, and as a result, we've got a government which is fundamentally divided.
But will your 2030 targets at least be more ambitious than 35%?
Well, again, you're going to have to wait and see. We made clear that we felt what the government was taking to Glasgow was not enough. But we will make our position really clear in good time.
Okay.
But you'll get meaningful action out of the Labor Party.
Okay, is it going to be, as the Business Council of Australia hopes, to be somewhere around 46% or 50%?
We can do this in a number of ways. People will just have to wait and see. But you will get an answer from us. But there will be meaningful commitment and action on climate change when it comes to Labor. You don't get that from this government.
Okay, NBN, you're making an announcement today, some $2.4 billion worth of an injection into NBN. So can you say, or can I ask how that's going to work? That's a question that Paul Fletcher's posed this morning. Yeah,
well, again, Anthony will be outlining this in more detail in a few hours, so I don't want to steal his thunder. But I think the point to make here is that, to be a modern country, you need a first-rate NBN. And what we've seen over the last 8 years on this government is billions of dollars being spent in rolling out copper. I mean, it beggars belief. And I think what has happened with the pandemic is the process by which our lives have been put online has, in a sense, been accelerated. People have seen the benefits of being able to work from home. I think various parts of the country, particularly regional Australia, has seen the real opportunities of being able to connect to the world. But you need to have a first-rate broadband in order to do that. And we haven't got that right now. So we're committed to that. We're committed to it being in public ownership, and we'll be announcing our plans this morning.
Okay, if you win the election next year, will rates and petrol prices go up?
Well, again, what we're seeing here is the Liberal Party going through its bag of tricks and trying to pull out the playbook in terms of scare campaigns around the economy.
Well, it's pre-election now. Get ready for it. There's more to come.
And what you know is that with Scott Morrison, you have a first-rate producer of lines, but somebody who really has done very little in terms of governing the country. And this one is astounding. I mean, last month alone, in October, we saw record average petrol prices in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. So that's the record of this government. I mean, under this government, we have seen record low wage increases over the course of the last 8 years. We've got a wage decline in real terms baked in over the next 4 years. I mean, that is the economic record of this government. So, if Scott Morrison wants to walk down this path, let him. Because the simple question that people need to ask themselves is, are they better off after 8 years of the Abbott-Turnbull-Morrison government or not? And that's a really clear answer.
Rates will go up, though. I mean, we heard it from Governor Lowe yesterday. They're going to be going up sometime 2024, probably even before then. But banks are going to move regardless. And when it comes to fuel, I mean, isn't that set by the international markets anyway?
So a whole lot of this is beyond the realm of what a future Labor government might do.
It's not going to matter who's in government. They're going to go up.
Well, can I say the economy matters, and this government absolutely owns the question around record low wage growth. I mean, this in terms of what movement or lack of movement on wages, this government has presided over an economy which is not delivering real wages to Australians.
That's true.
And that is because, we have seen productivity go through the floor, and that's absolutely on this government.
But our economy, to be fair to the government, it's done quite well through the pandemic compared to other nations. I mean, you're looking at the US, it's got inflation somewhere in excess of 6% at the moment. We are nowhere near that.
Well, as I say, I think if you look at where wages are as against the cost of living, there's a whole lot of Australians who would beg to differ on that question. But if economic management is the grounds on which this government wants to fight the next election, well, let them, because we're very happy to do that. The economic record of this government, in truth, has been woeful. Productivity going through the floor, debt and deficit growing, and that was before the pandemic hit, and real wage decline over the next 4 years. That's what they have to show for themselves.
Just a quick one here. President Xi and Joe Biden speaking yesterday. It's a move towards soothing tensions. We're not sure whether that's going to happen or not because there's still they both have a red line over Taiwan. Should that change our approach at all?
Look, I think we've got our own set of strategic circumstances to consider. I mean, it is fair to say that the world looks safer when China and America are in a dialogue. So it certainly shapes in a very big way the strategic circumstances that we face. But fundamentally, I mean, the things that we need to balance is this. China is our largest trading partner on the one hand. On the other hand, there are a lot of challenges that China represents for Australia, and we need to be making sure that we are ready and prepared for them. And again, in respect,
the announcement today, extra tech, quantum tech. I have no idea what quantum tech is, but it sounds pretty fancy.
Well, it's really good that the Prime Minister has discovered some words which are connected to science. But if you want to look at the critical technology that we need in defence, it's the successor submarine to Collins. When this government came to power, that was meant to be in place by the mid-20s in just a couple of years' time. They have opened up an unforgivable capability gap where we are now not expecting the successor submarine to Collins for another 20 years. Now, given the complexity of our strategic circumstances at the moment, that is an epic fail. And this government will be judged by history incredibly negatively.
But cyber warfare is a big deal at the moment. You know that, right?
Of course it is. These are absolutely technologies which need to be developed. Again, the question there is what money has this government put into public research? And the answer is they've cut it. What have they really dedicated themselves to defence science? And I don't see any of that over the last 8 years. It's one thing to have a speech of this kind today, but Scott Morrison needs to be judged on his actions. And when it comes to the question of science and developing science and turning science into jobs, this is one of the worst governments we've had in our history.
Richard Marles, we're out of time. Good to see you in person, though. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon.